finished a point apiece in the weekend's lunchtime London derby between West Ham and Chelsea. That apart, let's talk diplomacy. Let's talk diplomacy amongst managers, because there was that moment when Souček appeared to handle the ball on the ground, no penalty given. Joe Cole and Rio Ferdinand claimed Graham Potter should have created an uproar over the Souček handball decision. So, was he calm? Was he too calm? This was Potter post-match.
I haven't seen it on the TV as I've walked here, so I didn't realise how. I mean, it looks quite obvious, but it was a good save. I thought it was a good save from Thomas. I didn't think he could get down that quickly and make that save, so credit to him for that. It looked a handball. I think it was one of those ones that if it was given, it's hard to argue, but you need a little bit of luck sometimes, and we didn't get it.
So that's how Graham Potter saw it, Simon.
Yep.
Joe Cole says Graham Potter is always diplomatic. He's doing a fantastic job. But if he had someone in his staff who's maybe been at that level, managed at that level, you need to cause a bit of an uproar. Because it does two things. One, it takes a deflection from the bad elements of your performance, and it also puts it on VAR. Let these Chelsea fans leave the stadium feeling hard done by, instead of thinking, why didn't we beat West Ham? We've signed all these players. It changes the narrative of the story. What's your take on what Joe's saying there? Like, be more outspoken, and then Chelsea fans will leave thinking, do you know what, he's right. He's right. Potter was seething about that there. But Graham didn't, because that's not his style.
Well, I mean, look, I can understand both arguments. There's, I think you have to respect mistakes that are made. I think that's a pretty poor decision. I don't think the penalty should have been given. I think Graham Potter's response to it. Look, people are going to make this analysis because of where Chelsea are right now. If Chelsea were sitting top of the league and Graham Potter was hitting the ground running in his first 6 months at Chelsea, no one would be questioning his position or the way he responds to things. He responds to things as he does. He's a calm, collected, relatively sedate individual that thinks about things before he says them. Right? He doesn't need to get into territory of being all emotive because the media want him to. And I was listening to that, and I was watching that interview that was being done, and I was watching the direction that they were wanting to take it in. He gave his answer. The journalist wasn't happy with it, wanted to come back around again until eventually you can get the headline, which is Graham Potter's raging about VAR. It's a clearly bad decision. It won't be lost on Howard Webb. It won't be something that Howard Webb thinks is a great indication of how VAR...
The PGMOL said it was the right decision. He was breaking his fall with his hand.
Well, okay. Then okay, they're standing up that decision and think it's a good decision, and they'll be able to support it and give an argument to the reasons why they think it's the right decision in conjunction with the laws. And the laws need to be changed to reflect a more...
But just because Potter didn't blow his top doesn't mean that people should go after him.
Well...
Or does it?
Well, I mean, Joe's got a view, isn't he? He thinks that it would deflect. Well, if you beat West Ham in a game where West Ham have played well in it and you get a penalty that's dubious or people will argue about, does that deflect away? Because they'll still pull it back and say, well, Chelsea just got through this. They've spent hundreds of millions of pounds of players. They'll still say it was a nip and tuck game. And should everything come down to jumping around and being hysterical about every single thing that doesn't go your way? I would advocate a little bit more control. I would expect someone to say, he said I didn't see it. When I did see it, I thought he was quite facetious. He said it was a great save.
I can see the concerns. I don't know if this is going to come of a feature now of Monday morning show where we look at former players and their comments at the weekend. We've already talked about Shearer and Lineker, and now we're about to talk about Joe Cole.
Well, why shouldn't they? Well, they're pundits, Martin.
That's fine. Okay, let's make it a feature. But I think...
Thank you.
It's a Monday morning.
Martin, the producer, has now decided that we'll make it a feature.
Well, I'm just looking at Joe and Rio, and you look at the managers that they've both been hugely successful. And Sir Alex Ferguson particularly was managing a certain way, didn't he? He questioned everything. It was Fergie time. It was, you name it, Mourinho pretty well the same. Was that good then? Pretty well the same. But actually, I experienced something different with Arsene Wenger, because when he first came, I thought, do nice guys, can they win things? Can you win something with a thoroughly nice guy? And I can tell you can. So you can do that with Potter. It's what he does on the pitch. That's the most important thing. It's not in his character, as Simon says, to react in that way. I think he maybe should have done. Yes, he could have done. Maybe Joe thinks he's a little bit too nice. What he's got to do, though, is get results on the pitch, Jim, and he's 10 points outside of of a Champions League place. It's taking a little bit too long. I could see the improvements. Again, a host of changes once more. He's got to get a settled team, and he's got to concentrate what's happening on the pitch. And that's what he was trying to do. He didn't want to go down the road. He's probably thinking to himself, do you know what? I'm not going to cling to a penalty, or wasn't it? I should have done more to win the game. We're 1-0 up. Why was it that my team...
But that's the conflation that's being made here, which is the thing I made at the top. If he had Chelsea flying, the underlying narrative wouldn't be allowed to be put forward by a pundit. Doesn't bleed and will matter if they're a player or not, Martin. It's a pundit. So people were going to respond to what people say. So with that in mind, and 90%, unfortunately, first a lot of the time, are ex-players that are talking in the media that have a certain point of view. So you're going to have to accept, whether you want to make a facetious observation about whether we include it in a schedule, to critique what people are saying. The underlying perspective is Potter's style is now up for grabs with a player that's never managed. So now the poor bugger's style is under question. He can't react to the media because other people suggest he should jump around like a demented dervish.
I think he's got to have a balance, actually. And I think as time wore on with Arsene Wenger, he did question those things. He was all over it.
He'd argue he couldn't be more balanced.
He did become more aggressive.
Well, he never saw anything, did he? So he couldn't answer any questions,
correct,
could he?
because he was wearing your glasses. But anyway, never mind. But
I can see you clearly, Marty. That's why I can go through your drivel.
But it's obviously it's who you've worked with, Jim. I think they're making that assumption, and maybe he is. Maybe Potter is too nice. Maybe he does need to get a little bit angry.
But what's the point?
And he's trying
after it's come and gone.
Well, because then it's real. It's real jeopardy. It's a
but
need.
Like
it's a
that.
Want. But no. But he would have been. He was taking the Mickey. He was taking the Mickey.
So you would prefer confected outrage, would you?
No, I want controlled.
Well, maybe
opinion.
that was it.
That's what you got.
Correct. So I don't think it makes it. I made the point. It's about what he does on the pitch. It's not so mess. We're doing a lot on what people, these post-match interviews. We've seen Nathan Jones lose his job because of one. We're talking about Jesse Marsch now maybe going back into man.
That's why he lost his job.
Well, it didn't help him. We're now talking about Jesse Marsch maybe getting the job at Southampton because he does a little bit better job in that area. And now we're criticising Potter for the way he spoke. It's
no,
what
we're not. No.
We're not. That's exactly opposite what we're doing.
No, it's what you do on the pitch.
Do you think Potter's right or wrong the way he handled that there?
I think he did the best he could. I think he's probably got so much to think about in terms of sorting his team out that he wasn't really looking at the dishonesty, of losing that opportunity to get a goal or a penalty that they fully well deserved.
I'll tell you something. If Potter had suddenly become very unlike Graham Potter,
people would say People would say it's confected.
People would say, look at him deflecting from the point.
No,
that
they say a bit of passion and a bit of anger in there. Yes, he loves the club like we do. It's very difficult, Jim, to take people's interpretations on board. And you can't be right all of the time. He's just got to be himself. He can't be anybody he is.
Precisely what it was.
I agree with you, and I'm explaining why it is that maybe Joe and Rio see something else in their manager, because they've had two very aggressive managers that they've had the most success from, and sometimes they think that's the only way it works. Well, I have news for you. No, there is another way you can win, and Wenger showed us that.
Mourinho might have done it that way. You're right. It takes the deflection from bad elements of your performance, and it puts it on VAR. Maybe he would have done it that way.
No, he questioned every decision.
And that was his style.
And
And there's nothing wrong with that. So I think your first point was the most salient, which is you need to have balance.
Yeah.
If Graham Potter wants to go hammer for tongs at a decision that was made and believes that's a better way to manage, then he'll be coming out of the way that he normally operates. And the way that he normally operates has got him to the point where he is now Chelsea manager. So I would suggest that he's got to get himself into a place where he operates at a comfort level that makes him comfortable. Then he can make the players comfortable, and then you'll have a winning team.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.